Sun goes down, fades away. Lifeless fingers, red decay. Darkness comes, slow moving mist hides the land inside its fist. The riders come, sworn to obey, to chase the colors from the day. They ride on through with a thunderous sound, shakes the mountains and cracks the ground. Power, can you feel that power? As night rolls in with the witching hour. Power, can you feel that power? Across the land, can you feel that power? Cold steel hearts, eyes like flame, etched in dust, forgotten names, echoed vows through shattered time, bound by blood and ancient signs. Engines howl like beasts unchained, blackened skies ignite the rain. Every step, the shadows cower when the ground bows to rise in power. Power, can you feel that power? As night rolls in with the witching hour. Oh, power, can you feel that power? Across the land, can you feel that power?
Now we have microphone not in the right place. We're going to get our head out of our ass here in a second, because that's what we eventually do. um, that was an interesting sound. Yeah, that wasn't me. It was the microphone. What's up, guys? Jads Holloway says, "Good evening from Sedalia." Is that Mississippi or? I'll show you here. See, Stu is in the house. What's up, Stu? Timmy Brelds. Timmy Brell. Let's see. Breldsford. Good evening, man. I'm sure I still managed to mispronounce that name, that last name. That's one of them good ones. Sounds kind of Irish. Stu. Missouri. Ah, well, yeah. They're closer. I don't even Where the hell is Sedalia? I should know that. I probably do. See, it's what happens when you get old. Your brain's like, you know what? Screw your ideas. I got my own. Yeah, reality just kind of drifts out the window, and you know, you just latch on to whatever crazy shit comes flying by. Um, so I busted out my list of questions. I keep adding to this list. So when I see a good question and a good general question pop up anywhere, I pop them down in my list, and I keep this list. It's kind of a dry list of general car audio questions that people ask that I find interesting. So, the first thing I wanted to do is announce that tomorrow, which would be Saturday, the 1st, August, August. Yeah, I guess it's August. The 1st is going to be Saturday and Sunday over really close to the Plaza Shopping Center, right out in front of this little pool hall there in that strip mall. We're going to have Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have a show with Bass Horse. So I'm going to be at both of those events. That's my plan anyway, unless there's too many people telling me to turn it down. In that case, if Saturday turns into a turn it down festival, like, oh, you need to turn it down, oh, you can't play loud or whatever, then I may or may not be showing up for Sunday, or because I don't like turn it down spots. But we're hoping it's not one of those situations. So we got that coming up, and then there's another show at Carmel Car Audio, and I forget exactly when it is. So you'll have to look that up. It's Midwest SPL show. I'll be at that one too. And then, of course, there's a couple of others, I think. And then, of course, I will be at the finals, which will be in Lebanon, Missouri. Used to be a big Harley Davidson dealership there, but yeah, Huffy. But there's not no more. I remember there's a jingle on the song, or a jingle on a commercial that went, "Take a run to Lebanon, Ozark Harley Davidson," and that song stuck in my head. And so whenever I'm trying to think of that town, I always think of that damn jingle. Anyway, uh, yeah, no kidding. So let's see here. What's going on here? Uh, Timmy, and yeah, Stu's like, sure. It was, man. Look, I'll do it. See if I can do it again. It's not me, man. The mic is really, really tight. This mic stand, guys, is freaking awesome. I did a review on this thing, and it is just so sturdy. I don't know what you'd want to, and of course, you can tighten it up even more. I could hang like probably 3 or 4 pounds extra weight on this with the mic, and it just wouldn't care. And it has a very wide range that it swings. You know, um, it's just really good. I'm really liking this mic stand. I can appreciate good equipment that works properly. Dubby is in the house. What's up, Dubby? Dubby said, I sniffed a burnt out pile voice coal once. Couldn't get back down to the ground for 3 days. That was, was that high. Ooh, man. Holy cow. Pile is kind of an interesting brand. I've had, I remember the subwoofers from Pile and stuff were just absolutely horrible in the subwoofer world as far as car audio stuff goes. But if you put one of those bad boys on fairly low power and put it in a fairly large cabinet, they sounded really good. So it was kind of like they took home audio gear or pro audio gear and just sold it as car audio gear. It's almost like they just rebranded a bunch of stock because it really worked well in that environment, not so much in the car audio environment. It was way too easy to pop those subs. They were like 100-watt subs, and people were putting twice that much power on them and they just went pop really quick. But if you kept the power low and the box big, they sounded good. Never were super loud, but they did sound pretty good. The pile driver, yeah. That's a good one, Stu. Blue Wave highs. Let's see. Oh yeah. I have. I've come to a few shows like that, and then I'm like, yeah, no, not so much. Because I mean, I demo. I'm not out there to sit. I mean, a lot of guys they go to the show, and it's like if you've never been to an SPL drag or an SPL show, basically you got a meter set up with two mics or two sensors, and they pull up in twos, and you're almost never actually racing or competing with the guy next to you. Sometimes you are, but they compete in two at a time. So it's kind of a heads up sort of thing. And you go up there and you either do music for like 30 seconds or a minute in some cases on the crazy stuff, or you do just a peak frequency burp, where you burp and you're done. And then once you get your score laid down, you move forward and the next person pulls up and you do the same thing. So what inadvertently happens is you end up spending, if all you do is that, you end up spending, 6 hours basically sitting around waiting for 1 or 2 minutes of actual competition. And they don't want to outdo these guys. A lot of them, most of them, for one, they don't drive their vehicle there. They trailer it in, and it doesn't actually go anywhere. It runs and moves good enough to get up to the line. They're not licensed. They're not plated. They're not, insured. They're probably not insurable in a lot of cases or licensable. They're basically just rolling SPL projects, and they'll cripple them up to the line, do their thing, and then they have them sitting over there off to the side, either idling or running off of shore power, getting to charge the batteries up to get the batteries absolutely topped off, so that when they go in for their next pass, the main run, they have enough power to get that maximum XPL. Now me, and these guys won't be doing any demos, at least not until after the final run, because they don't want their subs to be warm at all, and they want their batteries to be maxed out. Me, on the other hand, I'm exactly the opposite. So from the time I get there, I usually go in and do my qualifying run. I try to do that really quick. I try to be the first one in line for the qualifying run and get that over with. My subs will be cold, and I'll get my best score usually then. And then I will demo all day, full tilt, as hard as it'll go, beating the crap out of it, clip in, max power, everything it's got for hours and hours. Engine running, keeping the batteries charged. When it comes time for me to give my pass, I may have let it sit and cool down for a few minutes, or I may just tell the guy he's got to get out so I can go do my run. I'll pull over there and do my run. and go right back over to where I was and continue the demoing process. That's how it usually goes for me. So, and I drive my shit there. It is legal. It is running. It is street legal. It is inspected. It is insured. All that stuff. And I'll be competing against those other guys that do what I said before. Sometimes I beat them, which is really fun. But that's how the two different things happen. And there's a couple of guys like myself, me and a couple of others that do that demo. But I'm the primary one that actually demos like all day. And that's what I do is demo. So yeah, whenever they say turn it down, why am I here? I I compete in a bracket just because I'm trying to help give a little bit of money to the guys that are running the show. Just trying to pay my little dues, pitch in my little $30, and so I'll sign up for a bracket to make the numbers better. That's it. I really don't care about that. I know how loud my shit'll get, and I don't care if I get it's just not something I'm interested in. But Stu said, I'm just hoping I can mow this weekend. Oh man. I have yeah, when we moved in here, there's this guy that was mowing. I saw him mowing his yard because we have this tiny amount of grass. It's like a tiny amount on the side of the driveway, and then down the side of the house, and then just a little bit behind that. It's a tiny little chunk of grass. And I asked this guy, I said, how much would you charge me to mow that little tiny chunk of grass over there? And he looked at it and he's like, I don't know, man. He said, I'll just mow it for you for free. And I was like, well, okay. So he mows the shit for me for free. When he mows his grass, he comes and mows and he weed eats and everything. It's very cool. Dovey. Oh man, y'all are messed up. That's a look that's always there, man. Let's see here. Look at it. Just look at it. Um. All right. All right. For a sub box, is it better to have one big sub or two smaller? Provided you have the baffle area to do either one and the box airspace to do either one, a single sub is always going to be a cleaner and less difficult to get perfect sound than multiple subs. Now, it's like you're not really sacrificing anything noticeable by running multiple subs as long as they're all done properly. But if you can pick between the two and you get the same amount of cone area and or excursion all combined out of the single sub that you would out of the multiple subs, you're always going to have a cleaner overall sound out of the single sub. So it's that last little 5% or 2%, if you're wanting that. And it's going to be slightly better. It's going to be slightly better because your port is in one space in your box if you're running a port. And your subs are, if you have multiple subs in the box, they're not in the same location in the box relative to that port. So it's going to cause some slight weird things to happen where you're not going to get that with a single sub on a single port. Is it going to make a difference that you'll notice? No. But what's more important in most cases is that you're utilizing the baffle area you have to the best of your ability. And if you've got a low, wide baffle, it may be better for you to run multiple smaller subs. Whereas if you've got a short, a narrow, tall baffle, it's like a really square baffle, a single sub may be a better option. So that's more important than whether or not you have multiples, what I was talking about, if you understand what I'm getting at. So the baffle shape and area, and available area for the baffle, um, is more relevant than the multiple subgroup fogginess of a group of subs is. So yes, the answer is yes. uh, is it better to have a magnet, have the magnet neo or ferrite? Doesn't matter. The neo magnet will be lighter and usually smaller, which makes it easier to work with. But it also doesn't heat soak like ferrite, so those subs tend to heat up very, very quickly. And if you're used to running ferrite motors and getting them, banging on them hard, you're gonna blow the neo magnet. You're gonna blow the coils in the neo subs because they're going to heat up much faster and they're not going to hold all that heat. They're not going to soak in all that heat and let it radiate out. They cool completely differently from a ferrite motor. So that's really the only difference. If you're going to burp subs, if you want to burp, then Neo is fine. Burp, done. If you actually want to get out there and do what I do, I would run ferrite all day. It's heavier, but it handles heat better. So it also doesn't. When it gets hot, it doesn't tend to lose its power. So a Neo can do that. Neo can actually become weaker because it's getting hot, and it gets hot fairly easy. It's not really the best technology out there. It's just people want to charge money. They want to make money. So that's how they can make more money, is by selling you more expensive motors. Absolutely, Stu. That is 100% correct. 100%. So what does hours mean in lithium? How does it correspond? If you're referring to amp hours, okay, amp hours in all batteries means how many amps a battery can discharge per hour. So a 100 amp hour battery, in theory, can discharge 100 amps for 1 hour, or 1 amp for 100 hours. That doesn't matter what kind of chemistry you're looking at. That's what that's supposed to mean. There's a limit to that. Now, with all batteries, there's also the C rating, and in most cases, your AGM or lead acid style batteries are going to be like a 0.5 C, which means that they can technically discharge 100 amps for 1 hour, but they can really only charge 50 amps, or half of that 0.5 C, about half of that for the major part of that hour, or that time. So it's kind of a crippling factor. Whereas lithium would be stuff like 10C and 20C, meaning that they can actually they can do this 100 amps for 1 hour, but they could also do 10 times as much amperage for a tenth of the amount of time. For 1,000 amps for 6 minutes, as an example. So the amp hour rating is basically that. And as a general rule, and I mean this is very general, it's not 100% at all. You can figure for amplifiers, if you're wanting to figure out how much battery you need for an amplifier, 25 amp hours is usually good for about 2,500 watts of power that you're trying to produce maximum. And then it stacks on top of that. So 5,000 watt amp would need about 50 amp hours of battery, roughly, generally. That's a good number to go to, especially in LTO. But yeah, that's what that basically means. Am I going to any Midwest SPL shows soon? The next one will be the next Carmel show, I think. I have to look that one up. Carmil Car Audio, CARMIL Car Audio. You can look it up on Facebook, and I think they're on there. I haven't looked it up. I'm gonna need to take a break for a minute. I got biology is a son of a bitch. So give me just a minute, and I'll be right back.
Yeah. If you wanna move, then drop that low bass. If you wanna move, then drop that low bass. Low bass. Drop the low bass. Drop the low bass. Yeah. If you wanna be loud, lay it on the ground. I said loud, lay it on the ground. If you wanna drop it to the ground. If you
All right, let's see here. I think we covered that. It all depends on your power. And man, that amp hour thing is a pretty good general reference. 25 amp hours for 2,500 watts. When it comes to lithium, that's going to give you a good number to base your idea off of. And I've found that tends to work pretty damn good. And the reason is most lithium is 10C or better, meaning that at the lowest is 10C, and at 25 amp hours at 10C is 2,500 amps, which is right on the money for 2,500, or for I'm probably saying that all wrong. 250 amps. Is that right? Yeah, 250 amps, which is right on the money for 2,500 watts. And so as you build the system up, just keep that amp hour rating in mind, and you'll be in pretty good shape. Be sure you don't have, use good solid lug connections, and avoid stuff like this. Don't use these things in there. Basically, you don't really want connections like this, where you just put a wire in here and put a bolt in it, tighten it down inside there. You know, the little worm drive screw thing in this hole. You want to avoid these as much as possible. You got to deal with them on the amplifier. But you don't want to introduce any more of these things in your system than you have to, because they're usually a pretty good voltage drop, and they're going to hurt your overall performance of your system. And they're going to introduce spots where you'll get corrosion and stuff too. And copper can corrode as well. I pulled apart some wires recently that were about 10 years old, that were solid copper wires. And there was a lot of grain corrosion inside that wiring casing, inside the casing on the copper. That's why tinned copper is better. So keep in mind that just because you're running OFC copper doesn't necessarily mean you don't have to worry about corrosion. You still want to use heat shrink on the ends and keep those wires dry inside, because they will corrode. They're not going to corrode fast, and they're not going to corrode to the point to where they're no longer there like aluminum does. Once they get a layer of corrosion built up on them, they pretty much are stable at that point. Like the Statue of Liberty, for example, turns green and then it stops. It just sort of stays that way. Same concept. If I have small subs, can I set the higher? If I have small subs, I can set higher the crossover. Yes, typically smaller subs can play higher frequencies before they play out, but they're usually going to start beaming pretty quick, and so you don't want to try to do too much crazy stuff with them. And as an example, if I use this skull can here as the subwoofer, the speaker primarily, and you say you got your subwoofer set at, say, I don't know, 300 hertz roll off at the top. It'll be fairly, now I'm pointing this is the speaker, okay? So it'll be like nothing, right? So as it gets right to where it's pointed straight at you, it'll give you a whole lot of sound at the higher frequencies. But as it drifts off to the angle just a little bit, either way, it'll drop significantly in output. That's beaming, okay? And you don't really want that because that's going to make it really hard to tune in your vehicle. Really, really hard. It'll make it sound like bad. So most of your subwoofers don't play highs very well, but yes, you can get a little bit more highs out of them. Typically, if the cone is smaller or if the cone is lighter. It doesn't have to be small. It can be lighter. I mean, look at guitar amplifier. I've seen guitar amplifiers, 15 and 18-inch drivers in them. They play highs all the time, but it's a very, very light, very, very sensitive cone. Even though the size is big, it's very light and sensitive. So it has to do with the moving mass of the motor, the mechanical mechanical mass of the motor and the mechanical mass of the moving parts, what kind of frequency range you can play at. But yeah, J-Rock, did I get Brightspeed internet? No, I have Verizon internet. I have the 5G set up from Verizon that I use on my phone. I have a little Dimaflitchy that plugs into the wall. It's wireless. It pulls 5G from local 5G network, and it's wireless in my whole house. And it's wireless connection to the internet and a wireless connection to my devices. It's been very good, and then they kept the price the same. So I'm very pleased with it for now. J-Rock, yeah. Yeah. I know who he is, I think. My Avatar 12. My Avatar 12 said 2.0 cubic foot enclosure was good, but a larger box make a difference. Absolutely makes a difference. Just remember, if you put a subwoofer in a larger enclosure than it was designed for, your power handling is going to be reduced significantly. It's going to change everything about how the driver behaves. It's going to play lows better. It's going to play a lot lower, a lot stronger, but it's also going to mechanically handle less power. So you want to probably use a high pass filter on it, or a subsonic filter to keep from playing too low and overextending the sub. At least, and you may want to reduce power significantly. But yeah, it still works. You just got to turn the power down, because it's going to be way more efficient. I mean, it's just going to be a more efficient system at that point, which means less power. and you got to be a little more careful. But sure, you can play it in a larger enclosure. Cool, man. What's up, Joseph? So, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Dude, I'm doing the best I can, you know. I'm sorry, guys, I didn't pop on here last Friday. I was in the middle of doing all that work in Chris's roof, and we was out there till like 1 o'clock in the morning in that Escalade, getting our butts kicked. But we got the roof we got the roof in a state to where all we're doing now from this point on is mostly dress up work on it. But we've got a lot more stuff to do to connect to that. But we got the hard pain in the butt part done of that roof. That's cool. I'm glad you're here, bro. You and little man. Hawk said, if I am looking to get an amp for underrated 2500 watts, if it's me, okay, if it's me, you know, I can only advise myself in this stuff. But what I do is I would double that. So if you're looking in for a 2500 watt subwoofer amplifier, I would look for an amplifier that plays around 5K. But that's my personal opinion of what I would do. I typically like to do 5K because it's going to, after impedance rise, it's going to be producing about that 2500 watts RMS. And I tend to get away with that math. That's what I've been doing for a while in the Tahoe. So just bear in mind that you're going to be pushing your equipment and you need to pay attention to what you're doing, you know. And it's kind of a do it at your own risk sort of thing because you're doubling the RMS power. But I've been getting away with it as long as you make your box on the smaller side. So you want to, if it says that the box is good at say 2.5 to 3 cubic feet, then you'd build your box to that 2.5 mark. That way, you know, you're giving it some good solid control. Maybe even a little tad under that. So, and yeah, you can get away with it. That's what I would do. That's just what I've been doing. But yeah. What's your thoughts on FI audio? I don't really have any. Sundown or FI budget subs like slaps aren't really my thing. I've seen what Sundown can do. Yeah, I have too. I've seen lots of what Sundown can do. I've beaten a lot of Sundown builds that were very similar with my slaps gear. If I was picking between FI, I honestly either one. You know, you're just kind of overpaying for the same stuff. A lot of the guys that are running Sundown full bridge amps are like, you know, I'm like, yeah, well, you paid this amount for your Sundown full bridge amps, and I paid this amount for my slaps amps. And if you take the covers off of them, they look a lot alike, except for the fact that the slaps amps actually have some better components in them than the Sundown full bridge amps. So just paint whatever words you want on there, and or you can pay, you know, twice the price for a different word to be on there. But it's up to you. I'm all about making power and not trying to spend money that I don't want to spend. But I get it, you know. If you want it to say a certain thing, then get that. I'm just past it, man. I got past it a while back, and I started testing equipment and really pushing stuff, and testing different equipment out. I've totally got past brand names. Brand names are something I don't even care about anymore. Let's see what he says. Bass Warden, a 118H slap smackdown V2 versus 4 DTX-E hybrids on a single 8K. E hybrids. I don't know what those are. I don't know what size cone that is. I would need to know more information on those. If you're trying to get me which one would I pick, but I would almost right off the bat go with the Slaps 18, depending on if you're talking about 415s or something, then no, or 412s, maybe not even against 410s, but something smaller than that, yeah, it would eat them up. I really like the 18. The 18-inch Oblivion is an absolute monster. My buddy's got one in his Escalade right now, and he's putting a few thousand watts on it, and that thing absolutely slams. It's a single 18 in there, and it's kind of really surprising just how loud and how low and how much impact that sub actually has all by itself back there. They are, and that's an Oblivion. They're impressive subs. Is it better to put sub position inverted outside the box or inside like normal? Depends on the sub and the application. There's lots of reasons to do both. When you invert the sub, you do expose the coil to cabin temperatures, and so that tends to make it cool a little bit better. You got your AC kicking or whatever going to keep your body cool, and that means the voice coil's stuck out there in the area where you're getting the AC. It's going to get that AC too, help to cool. Probably be less temperature around it than having it heat soaking inside an enclosure. You also gain a little bit of airspace in the box. Usually, depending on the sub, anything anywhere from 0.10 to 0.25 cubic feet, depending on which sub it is. You're going from little to big. So it can add a little bit of cubic space. It can also let you have clearance. If you've got a box that's fairly thin, the magnet's going to collide, but you got room above the baffle. It can give you that option too. It can let you not have wiring running inside the box, so you don't have to worry about that. It can make sliding a sub in to replace it easier and pulling it, because you can just grab the magnet structure and pick the sub up instead of having to dig your fingers under the flange and pick it up out of the hole. There's a lot of good reasons to run inverted. But some of the bad things are certain subs can have some motor noise that you can hear when the motor is on the outside, but you can't hear when it's turned in. So a lot of SQ guys don't want to run them that way because of those motor noises that they're hearing, those coil noises and the airflow through the vents and all that stuff making noises. Just the sound of air getting pushed past, mechanical parts. But a lot of SQ guys run them that way anyhow. It just depends on the sub. But that's kind of the stuff that I would consider. So, definitely looking at Trunk Thunder Lithium 5K or 10K. Yeah. Solid choice, man. I run a single 12 system, but I want to be absolute most out of the sub. Yep. I don't know what kind of power you've got, but man, there ain't getting your battery well above anything that you could possibly need in your system is a huge upgrade. I mean, it's huge. I'm running two of the Trunk Thunder Lithium 10Ks in my car, and I'm running them on a 5K amplifier, and not having to worry about voltage ever is such a big thing. And it makes the whole system just so much more reliable and so much more consistent. Um, so yeah, that's 100% good idea. It might take a while to get them, but he gets in shipments. Just stay in touch with him. He'll let you know when they're coming in. So he gets a shipment in, he builds, he sells, and it's just things take time. So good things to come to those who wait. Yep, heat shrink always, absolutely. I want to keep the wires protected. I like using marine grade heat shrink, and the stuff that I use is this cheap stuff. It's kind of fascinating because it's definitely not the most expensive um, heat shrink out there. I get these little packages that have 10 lugs in a package for like $6 or $7, $8, something like that. It comes with 10 lugs and it comes with 5 red heat shrinks and 5 black heat shrinks. They're cut. I buy these boxes, these little boxes of these. And that heat shrink is really thick, has a really thick amount of glue in it, and it's very, very good protection. Whenever you heat shrink it up, it creates a really good thick, heavy duty shield around those wires, and the glue melts and gets all in there. It does a fine job, and I haven't been able to beat the price or the functionality of that stuff. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Uh, Fi's top or ZV7 GP Audio Undertaker version 2. Yeah, that thing's an absolute monster. Um, for the money, if you want something that's absolutely ginormous, that Undertaker is actually probably the best buy of all of them. If you want an absolute beast of a subwoofer and you're willing to pay whatever it takes to get to that, it's actually better than a lot of stuff that's far more expensive than it is. It's a really well engineered, well designed sub. I know a lot of guys that have the option to run whatever they want. That's what they run because it's pretty phenomenal. The topic for tonight, man, it's just questions. That's what it always is with me. I answer questions to the best of my ability and hang out with you guys. That's pretty much it. I try to get to everybody's question. All right. How can I know where to set the subsonic? I usually do it by ear, but you can, if you don't have an ear for it and you don't want to take a chance on slapping your coil against your backing plate, usually the FS of a driver is a good starting point to look at something and know. If a driver has like a 32 hertz FS, for example, that means that at 32 hertz, that driver is going to be like, okay, when you push a kid on a swing, right? And if you try to push them faster, they just kind of wobble. They don't really go faster. The chain gets all messed up. All right. But if you push them at exactly the right speed, they actually increase. You increase their swing. Give just the right amount of push, and they increase. Too little, you don't do anything. Too much, you make the chain get all wobbly. Okay, well, what you're looking at is their FS. When you push them just right, and they actually speed up a little bit and get a little bit bigger on the swing, that is that child's FS, their resonant frequency on the swing. Same thing happens to the sub. When you're playing at the sub's frequency that it wants to go, it's going to go a lot more. So you're going to end up with a lot more movement. All right. And that is where you got to watch for control. And it's usually somewhere between 28 and 45 on a subwoofer, somewhere in that range, depending on how big it is, how heavy the motor is, and all that stuff. But anything once you get below the FS, you're in kind of dangerous territory of overextension. As a general rule, if if you just want to look at it and look at it and go, where do I need to set this at right now before I do anything? Try setting your subsonic frequency, at the FS with like a 24 dB roll off, or a little below it. And that's a good generic starting point. But for me, what I typically do is I listen to it and let it play a sweep and at lower power, and then turn the power up a little more, turn the power up a little more. And then whenever I finally hear it start to hit that voice coil, I know where my subsonic is. And I'll set my subsonic filter up to where I don't have that happen when I play a sweep. And then I'll increase the volume a little more, make another little adjustment to the filter until I'm running at full power through the whole sweep without anything making any mechanical noise. Then I have my subsonic filter set. But you got to do this very carefully, and it's not good for the coil to hit the back plate. So it's like you kind of have to listen for it and look at it. You got to look at it, you got to listen to it, you got to take it easy, and it's kind of a risky thing to do. So this is just how I do it, not how I'm suggesting everybody else to do it. What's up, man? Alexander. Yeah. Alex, I always have Alex Dantzler. Alex Dantzler. I love you guys' names. OG, man. I'm old guy is what that means. There you go, Stu. You can tell him. Stu's going to explain it way better than I did. Yeah, compliance. Yep, there you go. What he said. 118 or 412s. Okay. 412s is going to outperform a single 18, given they're both in proper boxes. And yeah, pretty much across the board. There's just way more cone area on 412s versus 118. If we're talking about something like 4.8s or something, yeah, I would go with the 18. 410s, personally, I'd probably still go with the 18, but 410s would actually, the right 10s, similar 10s, would outperform the 18. 412s would definitely will. But hang on a second here. Let me look at something. Make sure I don't speak before I know, because I can always screw up. Yeah, there does exist the SmackDown 12s, 3,000 watt RMS subs. So there is that. That would be my choice. The DTX. Probably good subs, though. That'd be a close comparison. If you've already got the subs, then yeah. But if not, the SmackDown 12s are $469 a piece and handle 3,000 watts RMS. And they're going to be very comparable. I'm not sure what the price is on what you're looking at, but that's, there you go. Just swap to the Slaps Oblivion 8s under the seat. my 22 GMC underpower with only 2K amp and still breaking it in, did a 129 at 60% volume. Hell yeah, man. Um, yeah, man, dude, I'm blown away by slap subs, man. Um, I really am. And I just keep installing them and people shit because they keep working. Got buddies that have come to me that have blown subs and blown subs and blown subs. And I'm like, dude, and then they come in, they pick up some Oblivions and put them in there and they just run them forever. Same thing with the Slaps amplifiers. They just go and go and go and go. They keep working. The equipment speaks for itself. I don't have to sell it. I'll just listen to it, hear what I do, and see what I do with it every day. And you're like, okay, shit, man, I need to get on that, because it does the thing. That's all I can tell you is it does the thing. It does it repeatedly, reliably, over and over again, even with me torturing the crap out of it like I do. So, I don't know. Have you ever removed the mid and tweet from a three-way? If so, how did you use them? As a mid bass driver. So if you remove the mid and tweet, you're left with the mid bass. Oh, from a three-way 6x9. Sure, you could use them as a little woofer. You could use them in a bass cannon. In fact, some of the earliest bass cannons used 2 6x9s mounted in a isobaric configuration. They were mounted face to face with about an inch of spacer between them. One was wired out of phase so that they doubled the motor strength. And then they used that in a small tubular enclosure with a port, and it absolutely hit like a truck. And they were just 6x9s. That was a pretty common thing to use in the early bass cannons, was the 6x9 drivers mounted isobaric. So yeah, you can do some stuff with them. GA said, what brand of smokes? Cheap, man. I'm a cheap bastard. So 24/7. I don't know. My wife buys them. They're cheap. Let's see here. Maybe taking the subs out tomorrow, since I will have, this is Joseph, have a little man with me to help with lifting them out. Hell yeah. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I love it when you guys work together. That's always cool. Robert says, what class of amp for tweeters? Well, I run class D on everything. There was a time when, in the early 2000s, where mids and highs amps, the class D mids and highs amps, were not all that clean. They were less than perfect. And so a lot of people that grew up in that age had trouble with them, and they only ran class A, B, and shit for their mids and highs. And those people are still around. They're old like me. And they never made the shift, even though the amplifiers got far, far better. And now you really can't tell the difference between a decent class D amplifier or a class AB in sound output quality. They sound exactly the same. But, there's some people that are still got the pinky in there with the Grey Poupon. Yeah, they'll tell you that you got to run class AB and whatever. I run class D. All right. I'll answer that question here in a second. I do need to take another little break. Again, I have biology that's kind of broken. So give me a minute and I'll be right back. And that's a very good question, and I will answer that question for you.
Yeah.
We are back. We're back. We're back. So I wanted to cover this. This is a very interesting question. Who sells just crossovers? There's a lot of companies on Amazon that sell crossovers, and I don't recommend any of it. Not one single one of them. Crossover networks, unless they are fully adjustable, are basically not going to work right with any other driver besides the one they were designed to work with. They're going to sound like hot shit for pretty much anything else. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. But first of all, the ohm load. If the crossover network is designed to work with a 4 ohm driver and you put a 6 ohm speaker on it, it's going to completely change the frequency range that it does on there, completely change it, so forth and so on. All those things those variables are going to happen. The driver's actual crossover points can be very specific. Like a driver may work well crossed over at 3,000 hertz with a 24 dB roll off. And if you cross it over at 3,000 hertz with a 12 dB roll off, you may get a bunch of garbage in it. This keeps going forever. So can you buy a set of crossovers off Amazon? Yes. But you're not going to be happy with the results you get out of them. And I've tried to mix up crossovers with other stuff. It never works. It never, ever works. A passive crossover network can work extremely well for the drivers it's designed for. And it will work very well for that. It does lose some heat. You do lose some power in the crossover, of course. You lose control, but it is a very good mix. It's going to give you a very, very good mix for those drivers that it was designed to work with. If you try to use any other drivers with it, you're almost always going to get hot garbage. So while they do exist, I don't recommend you buy any of them. Get a DSP, run them separately. You're going to be doing far better than using crossovers. That's my suggestion. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, get a DSP, man. Just get a DSP and buy amp that stuff. You're going to be happier with it. You're always going to be happier with it. Yeah, I have the 18-inch Smackdown right now, but it wasn't happy in my box. Ooh, nasty port tune. That thing wants like a 28. That's like 10 hertz too high for me. I wouldn't do nowhere near that. 5.5 cubic feet, yes, but that port tuning is way too high. The port's about right. 100 inches of port, yeah. Oh, I see. So you took out a coil. 46 hertz. That's awful high. That'll get hot. That's another thing about playing hard on a sub is when you play high notes, there's not moving very much. Or if you're playing at port tuning, it's not moving very much. And if it's not moving very much, it's not moving very much air over the coil, and you're going to heat that sucker up really quick. So if you notice, I'm almost always playing off a port tune whenever I'm doing demos. And all the time, actually. I'm playing off port tune whenever I'm doing runs. I don't even play at port tune when I'm doing runs. I play at port, and if you do have a port tune, I like it to be pretty low, so I'm still getting some air movement over my coil. Those things can actually, one little thing can actually really cause a lot of problems. In this case, he had everything pretty well right, but that high port tune, and did give him some good, decent numbers. 150 at 46 hertz is a nice number, but it also generated a ton of heat on that coil. And also, Allen doesn't recommend an 8K, single 8K on the 18-inch SmackDown sub. He recommends a 5K on that sub. So you're going past the power recommendation for it. So he was pushing it a little hard with a bit too high of a tuning. So that's kind of probably why you ended up there. That's my personal opinion. But it is what it is. This is the world we live in, and this is the games we play. So you knew that going into it. Joseph said, "4 SmackDown 15 flat wall or a 6.5." A 6.5 order? A 6.5 order. What the hell is a 6.5 order? You don't have room for pretty much anything but a flat wall in that Kia, man. With 415s, that's going to be a very tight fit. A flat wall is about the only option you have. I'm not sure what a 6.5 order is. I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments down below. I was given 2 down for sound LTO 6.0s. I have a 270 alt, 55 AGM under the hood. Roughly how much wattage could I reliably run? I'm not sure about the down for sound LTO 6.0s. I'm guessing that they're probably 22 amp hours a piece. So maybe 5,000 watts would be the outside limit if they're like 22 amp hours. I need to know the amp hour rating on those batteries. I could try to look them up, but I'm sure you could tell me. The AGM under the hood really doesn't add anything to it. Neither does the alternator, although the alt is a good upgrade. It doesn't really add anything to what you can reliably run. You need to be able to output enough power all at one time. That's the key. But just rough guesstimation, I would say probably a 5K would be pretty consistent without dropping voltage. So my Acura with the Tech Pack. They're 6 amp. They're 6 apiece. Yeah, that's not enough. So that's I see Bobby B's in the house. What's up, Bobby? 6 amp hours a piece. That's 1,200 watts. So, fudging a little bit, I'd say reliably 2,000 watts would be what I would throw at you. If you look at their spec sheets, they'll probably tell you something bigger than that. But if you don't want to drop voltage, which you don't want to do, 2K is about what I would say the limit is on that current system, the way they're set up. Oh yeah. So my Acura with the Tech Pack can only run certain amps. How does a DSP help versus plug and play? I want to run the DB Arnold 6.5s for the punch and focal highs for the clarity. The Tech Pack can only run certain amps. I don't know about that. A DSP gives you the option to set a frequency for each individual channel coming out of it going into an amplifier. So you can, on each individual speaker, that's on that, well, on each channel, which would be one channel per speaker per se, you can set up your frequency roll off. Where does it come in? Where does it go away? You can also EQ each speaker individually and time align each speaker individually and adjust the phase of each speaker individually. All that kind of stuff. You can do so much stuff to each individual speaker, which allows you to get everything sounding perfect in your vehicle. It gives you the control to do everything in the vehicle. It's far better than anything that's going to be like a plug and play kind of a setup because of the amount of flexibility that it has. It's like if you have your engine in your car and you have the controls on the dash to adjust your fuel, your air, your shift points, your RPM maximum, your all this stuff. You can adjust it all, having little dials for everything in your engine and being able to tune it, exactly where you want it all the time. It's that kind of functionality versus, having a button for high performance and a button for economy, it's just a whole different, it's a game changing piece of equipment, man. Derek Morton says, yeah, I play under tuning and find my coils don't heat up as fast. Yeah, exactly. So I have some tricks whenever I'm demoing for hours and hours. I'll play a lot of stuff around 35, 36, 37 hertz because that's where my loudest SPL is in my vehicle. And then if I notice my coils are warming up, I'll switch to some like 32 hertz, 33 hertz stuff, or 28, 29. And just do a couple of really windy low demos to bring the coils, to keep the coils from getting too hot. But I'll keep playing. It keeps going and going and going and going. And my port is tuned at like 24 hertz. So I'm hardly ever play anything at my port tuning. It's usually well above my port tuning in my vehicle. But that's just how I bid it. And if I play at my port tuning, which is a low, I usually don't play full power. I can, but I usually don't. And my shit will hit about 125 degrees Fahrenheit at the dust caps, and then it won't get any hotter than that. It'll just stay right there. So I've got a good balance of power and control and all that stuff kind of built into my whole system. And it's stable under crazy circumstances. I say I'm looking at a plug and play Audison 6-channel that makes good power, but it's close to $1,000. Yeah, I'm not running the speaker, so why would I do that? Why would that be better than a DSP? No, it would not be better. You're just buying a name. If you want something in there that says Audison, that's great. If somebody's going to give you one, that's great too. But as far as functionality goes, hell no, man. You buy equipment like that because you want the name brand. If you want performance, it's not going to get you anywhere special. If you're trying to do SQ setup, which sounds like you probably are, running 2 of the little Slaps Mini 4s for $200 total, and then adding a B2 DSP, a 6.8 or the what is it, the 1012, the new one. That's going to give you so much more control and so much more ability to get the sound you're looking for. It may sound ludicrous, but you're looking at like $360 or something like that for both amps and a DSP, and you're going to get infinitely more ability to tune and get what you're looking for out of it. infinitely more. There's not even a comparison between the two. What's up, Bobby? Let's see here. Okay, so like a sixth order. This is done with the 6.5. Like a sixth order, but the 2 subs inside the chamber and 2 subs on the outside, still sharing the same bottom chamber. Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds like a funky loading situation. I get it though. I understand what you're doing there. That sounds crazy. Sounds like it's going to load weird. It's up to you, man. I would probably dodge that because it sounds like it's going to load those subs weird, and you're going to have the 2 that are on the inside loading with both chambers, and then the 2 that are on the outside only loading from one chamber, and that's going to create some significantly different behaviors out of those 2 sets of subs. Probably not going to be a solid thing, but that's, again, that's on you. I wouldn't do it. And Hawk 9110. Our winters have regularly seen -10 Fahrenheit. LTO seems like the best option for cold weather. Is there anything I'd recommend to run a 5K Titan 8? There's no one I was looking at 23 amp hours. Well, trunked under lithium, the 5Ks, and if you're still making the 10Ks, the cells he's using are rated at 30 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. So, I mean, I don't see where that's a problem. But if you're going to run LTO, and I'm running both. I'm running trunked under lithium LiPo 4 in my car, and I'm running the LTO cells in my Tahoe. Mainly because I just got some from somebody in a quick trade, and then I just kind of, how you get things, and then you just continue building on that. And I got a bunch of them, so and both of them are great. I built that bank, and it's rated at 40 degrees below 0. So, and both of them are rated well below 0, way below 0 Fahrenheit. So I don't foresee any problems. The Titan 8 is a good battery. It's just overpriced. It's basically, it's very similar to the trunked under lithium 5K, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. But I don't think the bars are as healthy, the bus bars that actually carry the current. I don't think they're as healthy as the trunked under lithium battery. Also, I don't think the balancer that they use is the same level of quality as the trunked under lithium battery. However, the availability may be significantly more of a thing. I think the prices are similar, but I can't remember. So, choose your poison when it comes to that, man. All right, I see what you said there, Joseph. Joseph said I'll send you pics. What's a good DSP? Yeah, man. Hang on a second. Let me pull this out of the way real quick. All right. So here we go. Let's see if I can switch to this other scene. Why are you being a pain in my butt? Okay. The final countdown. Oh, it's adding scenes down here. Oh, Jesus. Oh, but Jesus. All right. We'll do that. Share. So this is the 610, okay, from B2 Audio. This is what I'm running in my car. And it's also what we're running in Chris's build. It's what we ran in Troy's build. And there's a few others out there too. It has been dead nuts reliable. And, well, you see the price. So this is what I recommend. And if you use my discount code, you go here, B2 Audio USA. That's important. You'll notice it says USA because it won't be on the B2 Audio page. Or you can go to Big Jeff, either one. Slap this in the cart, use my discount code CAE. It'll knock a little chunk off the price, even lower than what it already is listed. Now they got the 610, and then there's the other one. I forget which one it was. It's like a 12 channel. It's like a 812 or something like that. Whatever it is. It's basically the same thing. It's just got more channels. So depending on how many channels you want, that's a thing. Let me pull this back up for a second here. Let's see what Joseph sent me here. Doodly 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 doo. Okay, so that's that's exactly what I had in my brain. So let's go over to Joseph's picture here. This apparently is a 6.5. Yeah, that's going to create. So these subs here are going to load from the chamber here and from this chamber here. And these subs are only going to load from the bottom chamber. And that is where the problem is. They're not going to load the same. And you're going to get different behavior from these versus these. I mean, I don't know how good it's going to sound. I mean, you probably heard it. But also, his port is teeny tiny for this setup. That's going to be one seriously noisy port. That port's going to make a lot of noise. I would, like the smallest port I can even close to recommend for an 18-inch sub is like 36 to 38 inches. And I'm generally pushed more towards 100 inches per sub. And so that port looks like maybe an 8-inch port, which is tiny. Now it is flared, but tiny. Yeah. And even if you take this whole space down here and that looks like a 10-inch port hole cut out, maybe. If you take that hole and you made it a 10-inch port, a single 10-inch port in here, you're still about half of what you should. This setup should have 2 10-inch flared ports. That would be close to 200 square inches. One would be, if it's flared and it's clean and it's really nice and and you're just wanting to make SPL, one would be okay. But for anything besides, burping and shit, you will run 2. So yeah, you would basically, this is a mess. I mean, it's cool and I'd love to hear how it sounds, but I wouldn't anticipate it sounding right without hearing it. Now, I could be wrong. I hope I am. But anyway, I'm sure you will. Oh, it's 415s, he said. Uh, oh, okay. Okay. So there's a bigger port. Gotcha. Interesting build, though. I mean, I do find it interesting. And I like experimentation as much as anybody else. Um, so, would a DSP allow me to run an amp to the front doors, another amp to the rear doors, and the Deck Plus? Yes, a DSP will allow you to run as many amplifiers as you want, and you can control up to however many output channels there are. You can even have multiple input channels. So, like if your stereo already has, say, a front right and left, and then a rear right and left, and a sub, you could output all 5 of those channels to that DSP that I showed you. And you could pick up a signal from any one of those 5 channels and send it to any one of the 10 channels outputting. So you could make all 10 channels output off of, say, the subwoofer channel. Or you can make the front left speaker output from the sub channel and the front right speaker output. You can mix it up however you want to. You could do 2 tweeters, 2 mids, and then 2 woofers, and then 2 mid bass drivers below that, and then 2 subwoofers, whatever you want to do. You can mix it up however you want to. So you can take any channel that's coming in and then output it to any other channel. And then you can take that signal and manipulate it in any way you want to. So it's the ultimate problem solver. So yes, the answer is going to be yes. Any question you have in that regard, the answer is going to be yes. For Stanton 8K. Okay. That sounds about the right amount of power. 415s on 1.8K. That should slam pretty hard. I just don't know about that box design, but I would love to hear it though. I would love to hear it, Joseph. Can making a single 12 system that's built to specs give me above what subpar 212 or 15? Yes. Yes. A good system, a good single 12-inch sub in the right enclosure with the right power can absolutely outperform a tossed together, underpowered, underboxed, and wrong port 212 system real quickly, or even a 15. Really, it's all about the box, man. If you got the right box and the right power and the right scenario going in the vehicle, you're going to get way more output from that driver than you will putting many drivers in the wrong box. And it's going to sound better. It's going to play a wider range. It's going to play the lows better. It's just going to be an altogether better experience. So yes, that answers your question, I hope. I mean, it's always going to sound better to have the right box than to have a bigger sub in the wrong box. For sure. It's going to give you a whole lot more of what you're looking for. I'm looking forward to it, man. But yeah, guys, I've been struggling with inspiration, man. I keep walking out to the garage and like I just need to go do something, right? And I just stand around, look stupid for a while, and I walk back in the house. I'm having the hardest time. Sometimes it's rough keeping my creative juices flowing. So if you guys have any ideas for me, I would love to see them in the comments. Hawk said, what's the amp hour rating in the Trunk Thunder 5K? Hang on a second. I don't know. Things change from time to time, and so I have to look them up. I usually have a tab open for these guys for the 5K, which are currently out of stock, but they will be back in stock. You just got to stay on top of it. I think I know, but I don't like spitting it out without without looking it up, making sure I'm not speaking somewhere where I shouldn't. It's not listed here, unfortunately. But I want to say that the 5K is, for some reason, I want to say it's actually a 22 amp hour battery. But I can be totally wrong about that. I mean, completely wrong about that. I think it's twice that. I think it's twice that, but I'm not 100% sure. I have to ask. I'm gonna see if I can shoot a message out real quick. Give me a second. I'll see if I get a message back. It's possible. When will Chris be up and playing? He's playing right now on a single sub. He's a single sub scrub right now. But as far as the big build finished, sometime this year, I don't know when yet. Finances are his thing. Got to wait for the money to come in. He's got to buy 3 more of those 18-inch subs, a bunch more wood, and other stuff. And then we have to do all the building process. So it's just a matter of, I have no freaking idea. As soon as he comes up with the money, we'll get to work on it. Come on here, go one out. I would pick 112 in a built system over a good 15 in an undersized box all day long. Yeah. 115 in an undersized box is not going to do what you want. A single 12 in a box that's appropriate for it is going to play lower and play loud lower than a 15 in an undersized box. Now, a 15 in a severely undersized box will still play loud at a higher frequency. If you want to burp at 70 hertz and get real loud, they can do that just fine. But if you try to play anything with any lows to it, it's just going to fall apart. And who wants to drive around playing 70 hertz real loud, man? What the hell's wrong with these people? So yeah, I'd rather have the 12. I'm doing the best I can, man. Every day is every day. All right, let's see here. Thanks for your help. Hope you're fine. Yeah, I appreciate it. GA Pyro Dog. What are we sitting at right now? We have 19 people in here. GA Pyro Dog. Thoughts of JS alternators. I wanted to go make man, but called a deal on JS. JS is fine, man. I'll be looking. I'll be more concerned about the support for your specific alternator. Like, do they make adapters for your vehicle and the accessories that you need for your vehicle? Possibly come with a deal where you get a belt and brackets for a certain price and stuff like that. That's the kind of shit I'd be looking at. The name brand doesn't really matter. It's more about the package that you get for the price you get, and the equipment, all the other stuff besides just the alternator. You know, that kind of stuff is what I'd be checking into. So yeah, Man tends to have a pretty wide selection of shit in that regard, whereas JS may have it, may not. I don't know. It just depends on what you're looking for. But if the deal is really good, then you can afford to go buy all this other little shit you're going to need anyway, then go for it, you know. Personally, I run GP alternators, Team GP. I've had really good luck with them. They're not cheap at all. But they take a god awful shit ton of abuse that I've given them. So that's that. Alexander said I was referring to the actual mid tweet part. How many watts the speaker is a. Okay, let me go back and see. Alexander. Let me go back and see where this other part of this question was. Man, you're way back here somewhere. There he is. Remove the mid and tweet from a 3-way 6x9. Oh, how do you use the mid and tweet? Oh, okay. All right. Now I know where we're at. Now I can go back here. I got you. So yeah, if you take the tweeter and the mid off of the 6x9, so you've blown the 6x9 portion of the woofer part. Typically, for those little mids and tweeters, you're typically looking at something like 15 or 20 watts is all that you want to send to them. And if it's got a capacitor guarding the tweeter and probably has a capacitor guarding the mid, you can send, what the hell? My team leader's sending me a message. You can send, what the shit? My brain's turned off. All right, if they have a capacitor guarding the mid and guarding the tweeter, you can send a signal to it, a full range signal, and it should be fine. If it doesn't have a capacitor guarding the mid range, then you need to roll it off, control that signal, cut it off like 300-400 hertz or something like that, 500 hertz. But you're not going to be able to send a lot of power to them, so I wouldn't expect them to take more than about 15-20 watts of power, actual power, as a combo. You'll actually try to send more than that, but you won't actually get more than that sent. They just won't take it. It's like draining a swimming pool through a water hose. It's a lot of water you're pushing through there, but the water hose is only going to let so much go through, no matter how hard you push. It's just the hole's just so big. Yeah, you could always glue together brackets and stuff and mount them, use them. Fun project stuff. PSI as a brand. Yeah, PSI has a great subwoofers. They've been building Recons for ever and ever and ever. So I would be totally happy with using a PSI subwoofer. I don't know about the prices compared to, any of that stuff, but I'd have to look into it. Oh, I see. She's trying to get me to She's trying to get me to buy a shirt, I think. Our team president's a crazy person. Let's see here. It's hard shopping for lithium because everyone rates the batteries by RMS once. Yeah, that's the thing. It's because the public is generally, ignorant in that stuff, so they have to. They feel they have to rate them in such a way that someone can understand it. Um, and it's unfortunate because the people that actually know what they're looking for are not getting the information that they need to make educated decisions. But on the flip side, people that don't know what they're looking for are able to get the information that they need to make a dumbed down educated decision. That said, with Trunk Thunder Lithium, his ratings are very good. The 5K will absolutely handle 5,000 watts on a stock system, no problem. So, and significantly more than that if you actually have a high output alternator to add some charge to it. Decent wiring and whatnot. They are strong batteries. Brandon rates them based on what they actually do when he tests them. And boy, does he test them. So, yeah, it is what it is, bro. Yeah, see, I don't buy that at all. It says it can handle 5K with a high output alternator. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't buy that. I don't like those ratings. That's why I said, man. You could do it. And here's the thing: you go and you buy the batteries, you hook them up, you do the thing, put the amplifiers on there, and then your voltage goes, and you're like, "What happened?" I told you what happened. They just don't do what they say they will. It is what it is, man. It looks cool sitting back there with the labels and the logos and the name and all that stuff, but it just don't do what it says it will do. And then, it is what it is, man. I finally got the chance to catch a live. Best score, best machine I ever got. And what frequency? Just curious. My loudest official score is a 156.8 at 37 hertz on the glass. That's a legal competition score on the window. And I could do about a 155 or so at like 30 hertz. I can do a 150 plus at like 20 hertz. I have a really wide range, but 37 is my peak right at the moment. Really appreciate your channel. I'm probably capable of hitting a 57. I did say 56.8, right? Because I have 156.8 from my max. I'm probably capable of hitting a 157 if I do all the little stuff like move my seat around and adjust everything just right and rev the engine up. But that's my highest recorded number so far. I work overnight in your old live streams and get through my work night. Cool, man. Plus the knowledge. I appreciate it, brother. I do my best. And yeah, man, I used to work nights. I worked nights. I worked, and one of my last, besides driving a big truck, which I did for like 13 years, I worked at a plastic factory. I worked overnight shift at a plastic factory. I used to listen to the radio, cranked at full volume, could barely hear it over the machines running. I worked at two different places. One was Diversified Plastics and one was Accurate Plastics. Accurate Plastics made shit like this, this kind of stuff, this hard plastic, like you find tool handles and knobs and things like that. And Diversified made more stuff that was like foam, like coolers and panels that go inside of cars and behind like in the Saturn and those black, that styrofoam stuff that's black. It's really, really tough and squishy. And then, of course, regular blown styrofoam kind of stuff. Anyway, I worked at both of those places. Two cool jobs. They were literally sitting side by side in the parking lot. But yeah. Let's see here. Infinity. 3 ways, 100 watts, RMS. That's the speakers, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't put no more than, 10 to 20 watts on them. How much RMS can I run before needing to upgrade electrical? I don't know what you have to start with, bro. On the average car, less than 1,000 watts, really, total, for everything. And the easiest way to tell you is if your voltage is dropping whenever you're cranking it up, then you're running too much and you need to upgrade your electrical. And then the best way to figure that out is, are your headlights dimming? Then you need to upgrade your electrical. If you're pulling more power than your system can actively support, and it causes your voltage to drop and makes your headlights dim, then your electrical system is insufficient for what you're trying to do with it. That's a quick way of assessing the need. GA says, my coworker has 30 speakers and 18,000 watts in his Suburban. 4 sundown ZV15s on 2 salt 6Ks and 16 mids and highs. PRV is fine, man. I don't have a problem with PRV. I got friends that are running PRV, DS18, a lot of different brands, Depmonts. They're all good. It's like, it's not about the brand, it's about the specific item that you're using. I've learned certain products, specific products, are really good at what they do. That doesn't mean that everything from that brand is going to be good. Just certain specific products perform really well. Like one of my favorite loud tweeters. I mean, if I'm just wanting to crank the snot out of it and have a reliable tweeter that gets really loud and also still sounds good but doesn't blow very easy, is one of DS18's cheapest speakers. It's the TW120 from DS18. The TW120 and the TW120B. They're about $30 a set. $30 for 2 of them. And you'll be hard pressed to find any tweeter out there that will hold up and handle power, handle being cranked up and get down, and sound as good at any price as those drivers. They're great tweeters. Does that mean I want to build a whole DS18 build? No. I don't like a whole lot of stuff that DS18 as a company does, but they make that one tweeter for $30 a set that is really good. And I am someone who has the worst luck with blow-in tweeters. Blow them all the time. So I haven't blown a pair of those yet. I've pulled them in, pulled them out, put them in, pulled them out, put them in, pulled them out in different vehicles. I've still got them sitting around. I end up giving them to other people that blow tweeters, and they're still working in their shit. And they've been hand me down over and over and over again, and they just keep going. They just last forever, man. Can you blow them? Yes. But if you cross them over at 5,000 hertz and don't go crazy, crazy, crazy on the power, they're going to just keep rocking, dude. They're great tweeters. That's a DS18. DS18 makes those. And, you know, I've just had specific things, specific items from different companies that just happen to be really freaking good. Yeah, I could absolutely do that. Just don't go crazy on the power. And he's talking about the DS18 tweeters. I don't know which ones you have. Switch to the TW120 or the TW120B. They're both the same tweeter. One's just black and one is chrome. And what probably happens is, what you probably did though, is you probably got, let me look at this and see what base blockers don't necessarily do anything. Your base blockers may be blocking a frequency that's way too low for those tweeters. That's why DSP is important. So you can set the frequency up and you're not relying on an unknown capacitor, an unknown value capacitor, and the interaction of an unknown value capacitor working with that specific tweeter and giving you some random cutoff point that's way too low for the tweeter and will blow it. Whereas that same capacitor on the other tweeter actually gives you a more suitable cutoff frequency and it doesn't blow. That's more likely the case. However, having said that, the 120s, that's what I go with. Germany said he had the TW120s that blew. I said you can blow them. Doing something the wrong way will get you there every time. And like I said, I'm blow tweeters all the time. I know all about it. I do stupid shit constantly. So if I pick on you about doing something wrong, it's not because I think I'm better than you. It's because I've done the same stupid shit. So I'm just telling you about what I've done and how you can prevent it from happening in the future. You mentioned base blockers, right? And I'm referring to this comment. You mentioned base blockers. Okay, a base blocker is a capacitor, and a capacitor will give you a certain roll off on frequency, but it's based off of the ohm load, this very specific ohm load of the tweeter or the speaker it's going to. So if that speaker has a slightly different ohm load than what that base blocker was designed to block at, or if the frequency that it's the combination of the ohm load and the capacitor, if that frequency is too low, then your tweeter is going to be receiving a frequency that's way too low, and it's going to get hot and or mechanically break. That's why a DSP is your friend, because you can literally limit the signal and you're not relying on a mechanical device to limit it for you in an unknown function. And that can help prevent those problems. So get a DSP. That's, I mean, you know, they're not expensive. They're like 140, 150 bucks. And it's a game changer. You really need that in your life. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a big bass build or whether you're doing an SQ build or whether you're goofing around in your bedroom. A DSP is absolutely essential for modern audio. It just gives you so much control that you don't get otherwise. And you need to set those tweeters up to a 5K roll off and not You probably had them, most likely. Probably had them playing at like 1,000 hertz or less, and they will take it for a little while, but they won't take it forever. They will blow. And base blockers are just a real generic version of a capacitor. It's just a capacitor is all it is. But you don't know where the roll off is. And it's usually designed to cut the base down on something like a 6.5 or something like that, to keep subwoofer frequencies from going to a 6.5. So you were sending substantial amounts of lows to those tweeters, most likely, if I had to guess. Low bay doubt. I have 1994 Skyline GTSD. I have a Tar Amps 4x400. When I Google it, it gives me different answers. Oh boy, yeah. The Big 3 upgrade out of sub, but I am not dimming. If you're not dimming and you're cranking the snot out of it and your headlights aren't dimming at all, then you're fine. That's really a telltale sign. If you don't notice your headlights drop at all when the bass hits, then you're probably fine. The best way, of course, is to watch your voltage and see what it does, especially at the amplifier. So crank your shit up, and at nighttime, have your headlights on so that for the extra draw. Crank your shit up, get back there with a voltmeter, put voltmeter leads on your amplifier terminals to where you can see exactly what the voltage is at the amplifier, and use a voltmeter specifically because it'll be fast enough to actually read the drops when they happen. It won't just show you a real slow refresh rate like a lot of the little meter gauges that you buy. You need something that can quickly change, and watch it and see if it's dropping. If it's dropping anything below, your charging voltage. Well, if it's dropping below like 12 volts, anything below 12 volts, then you're leaving power on the table, basically. And for an AGM setup, the AGM is only going to start supporting it at about 12.5 volts. So if it drops anything below 12 volts, then you're leaving power on the table. If not, then you're fine. Let's see here. My coworker has a hum in his system. Oh boy, the noisy system. He says it's because of the 18,000 watts. Sounds like a ground. But his installer would disagree because his installer is the one that hooked it up, and he don't want to have to do something different. Most hums come from ground differential, meaning that you're getting a ground from two different locations, and the grounds are different voltages. It's like your voltage isn't all about your positive wire. It's also about your ground wire. And if your ground at one point is giving you 12.5 volts, and then your ground at another point is giving you 13 volts, right? And those two are on two different pieces of equipment that are in the same signal chain, you will almost always get some kind of noise between the two. And that's called a ground differential or a ground loop. It's the same reason that when you use an aux cable to hook up to a phone to a radio, sometimes you get a in the background. That's a ground. There's a ground happening in there. You're connecting the ground in that device and the ground in the vehicle together with the ground over that aux. It's two different ground points, two different ground levels. And over the signal chain is connecting them together, and so you get a ground loop, and it causes an oscillation. It's like somebody playing racquetball back and forth, and that makes noise. And that's where your problem is. What fixes that is having all your shit ground at the same exact spot on the same plane, not just on the same plane, but on the same wire. having the ground being the same voltage for everything. So, like if you want you to run your radio, for example, run your power and your ground from your radio back to where your amplifier is, and have it hook up at the same spot as the amplifier, um, so forth and so on. This can eliminate those things. Um, it's just a ground. It's a ground potential differential. That's what it is. It makes that noise. That's one of the things. That's the most common one, and it usually shows up with a change in pitch when you rev the engine up, because the alternator spins up, and as the alternator spins up, it changes how fast the people are hitting the ping pong ball back and forth across the table. If it comes in as just a constant hum that never changes, then you've got somewhere there's a ground that's not connected. You can fix that by adding a ground wire from your RCA to the chassis of your radio. That usually fixes that problem. There's a whole lot of different types of noises, but those are the two most common ones. What's up, Bobby? I saw you earlier. Uncle Bobby B is in the house. What makes the interference noises in the high watt systems? Yeah, that stuff that I just said. Let's see here. Yep, that's what I was just saying. That's the ground loop differential. Ground plane or ground potential differential. Let's see what else we have here. I don't have a DSP. I already mentioned that. Gotcha, man. What is a great curve for equalizing the DSP? Now that depends on the car, man, but I can give you a starting point. If you don't know anything and you just need a good starting point, you can do your subs up to 80 hertz and everything at, this is the rule, set everything at 24 hertz, or excuse me, at a 24 dB roll off on a Linquist-Riley curve. All right, subwoofers from nothing to 80 hertz. And then door speakers come in at 80 hertz, go to, if you have dash speakers, the door speakers can go up to like 300 hertz. And then the dash speakers can pick up at 300 hertz and go up to 5 kilohertz. And then the tweeters can pick up at 5 kilohertz and go all the way up. If you don't have, if you just got a two-way up front, right? So it's 80 hertz for the subs, then from 80 to 5 kilohertz, and then from 5 kilohertz to the top for the mids and then the tweeters. But it all depends on everything. I always default to 24 dB roll off Linquist-Riley for all my crossover points. As a starting point, I usually stay there. There's a few exceptions to that rule. Sometimes I have a little bit more overlap in the 200 hertz range if there's a null. I might have whatever's playing above 200 and below 200 kind of blend a little more in the 200 hertz range. It all depends on the car and the build and everything. So hopefully that helped you out, Robert. Osama been smoking. Hell yeah. I'm looking for a 6 fuse, 6 ground distribution block. A 6 fuse, 6 ground distribution block. Damn, Osama, what you been smoking? So you want power and ground. a power and ground distribution block. And I don't know how big it needs to be because that makes a big difference. I mean, you're not going to find very many things that are one thing that do both of those jobs that are very big. All right. You can find lots of stuff that can do both of those jobs at 25 amps and 30 amps. But if you're trying to pull, 300 amps through it, most of the stuff that you're going to find that's that big that do both of those jobs is going to be stuff from like Steve Meade shit. So, yeah, that's a very interesting spot to be in, and it gets expensive. GA, a Skyline. From Japanese car classics, hell yeah. Yeah. Enjoying your car audio 911 videos. It's got me more interested in the way the sound is inside the car. It's a big deal, man. There's infinite stuff to learn in this shit, dude. It goes and goes forever. You never stop learning. You never stop learning. Jacob designs all the subwoofers for Sundown. One of the best subwoofer designers on the planet. And he's learning every single day. Every day. I was talking to him the other day, and he was telling me about some crazy freaking field theory that he had just figured out. He talks about all kinds of crazy shit. The man's nuts. But the point is, he learns every day. The best out there learn every single day. So it's nothing new. We all make mistakes. The Skyline stock alt is only about 80 amps. You won't be able to do that much in the car without upgrading electrical. Put you in the same boat as me and my hybrid. Well, like I said, if the headlights ain't dimming and your voltage is staying up, it's doing what you're asking it to do. Whether or not your amplifiers are making their rated power and blah, 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 all that stuff comes into play. But if your system, the way it's set up, right, isn't causing your voltage to drop at full tilt boogie, then the electrical is capable of keeping up with what you are currently doing in the car. That I can tell you. Pardon me, I don't have an alt, but I have a DC to DC charger that is 80 amps, so only about 30 amps to spare. Yeah, no shit. And that's about correct. About 30 amps. But having the big batteries will help drastically, like a lot. Having big batteries on your stereo end will help a lot for those scenarios. Low voltage. Running to stick with the stick battery, stock battery. He said what he did was, since he don't have an alt, is got LiPo battery. Mine is a low voltage series 2 running with the stock battery to power my system. That's going to be your best bet, probably. Fair enough. I'll buy that. Yes, absolutely. Second battery is absolutely a good thing. Mainly it's the voltage. The chemistry is important, but it's not as important as the resting voltage. you need your second battery to rest at about the same point as your other batteries, so that one isn't trying to hold the other one up. All right. There's a long detailed thing about that, but if you're driving the car every day and the voltage is within like a volt of each other, it'll be fine. If you're driving it on a daily basis. Depending on chemistry. What would be a good frequency adjustment curve using the RTA? Using the RTA, a good frequency adjustment curve. You mean the Q factor for the equalizer? That depends on how many bands you're trying to affect. I'm kind of a broadband kind of a guy. I like to go down to like a Q factor of 1-ish, but I'm not a detail person. So, but again, it all depends on what you're trying to do with the RTA. If you're trying to adjust bands, using a Q, a higher number Q is going to give you a tighter adjustment. So it's going to squeeze it up and make it a finer adjustment. And you can do a lot more with that, but I find that when I do that, I'm stupid, so I tend to screw it up. And so being stupid, I have learned that you have to embrace your stupid. Okay. First thing, you have to understand what you're bad at, and then figure out a way to adjust your life to fix the things that you're bad at. Right. For me, whenever I try to do too fine of an adjustment with the EQ, I wind up with a wonky EQ. So I go with a broader spread, like a 0.9 something or 1.0 on the Q, so that I'm pushing a lot of bands at one time. I tend to end up with a better sounding EQ that way. That's just me. Okay. That's because I am stupid and I understand that. So running Ampere Audio 12K, 2 4-channel amps on an audio controlled DM810. Simple, clean install. Good deal. I believe that DM810 is an actual processor, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's a DM810, 80 in, 10 out or something like that. But sounds good. Sounds good. This is, I have an Optima red top under the hood. Those things have gotten a bad rap over the last 10 or 15 years, but I can't say I have any bad luck with them. I just hear lots of bad stuff. I ran one in my Ford truck for a while. Had no problems with it. Looking for a good secondary battery for above amps. I've been looking at the VMAX charge pump batteries. I have zero knowledge of those. I will say this though, when it comes to lithium, and I want y'all to listen to me, okay? Important. When it comes to lithium, be very careful about buying cheap assemblies, okay? Because if you find something that you haven't got a lot of experience with, or have people that you know that have a lot of experience with them, they can absolutely be bad, be very dangerous. Because these guys will cut corners in the balancers, cut corners in the bars, cut corners in the connections, cut corners in the case, all this stuff. And any one of these little things can cause problems. This is a kind of a big deal. So I would rather see you spend stupid money on something from Excess Power and get less, but it be safer, as buy something from a manufacturer that's unknown, um, and an unknown brand, and spend a lot less, maybe getting the same batteries, but a very, very poor workmanship on the assembly and having problems. So that's how I stand on that. If you're going to go cheap on lithium, just buy the cells and the bars and build it yourself, because you're going to get a better product in the end that way. That's the truth. How do you EQ bass? Well, I mean, if you're trying to make it linear, you can run a sweep and run an RTA sweep. So put in Google, open Google up and look for a sweep that runs from like 100 hertz down to like 30 hertz and bounces back and forth like that, and run your RTA to listen to it. You can even run it on a smartphone, although it's not going to work very well because it doesn't register subsonic frequencies very well. You're better off with a mic. Like one of these, okay? These styles of mics. Plug that into a tablet and run an RTA run on that, and adjust your bass until with the EQ until all the outputs are till it's a nice flat line as it's going down. As the sweep goes down and back up. You could also run pink noise and just EQ the bass flat on a pink noise track. If you don't have any of that fancy stuff, you could do it with your ear. Just run the sweep down and back up. And if it sounds like it's a little weak at this frequency, push it up. You want it to sound like it's about the same perceived volume level to your ear hole all the way through the sweep, up and down. You're not going to be perfect, but your ears aren't going to be perfect, so it doesn't really matter. That's one way to do it. There's a bunch of ways to do it. But you want your 25, 28 hertz to sound about the same as your 35 hertz, so that you don't have it going really quiet in one spot or being overly loud in another. And whenever you're EQing that, don't push up the places where it's quiet, pull down the places where it's loud. Always EQ down if possible, right? So if it sounds weak at 25 hertz, but it's really strong at 35 hertz, pull 35 hertz down until they both sound the same. That's how you do it, basically. For SPL, well, now we're talking about a different thing. SPL, you want, there's no EQ in it, man. You just let it rip. You don't want to take anything away. You just want to make numbers on a meter. I mean, you still do the same thing I just said, but if you're trying to get maximum score, you don't want to pull anything down at all. You want your loudest peak on the meter. Whatever your peak, that's what you run. If you're peaking at 35 hertz, you just hit it with 35 hertz and get your score. But if you're looking for just loud riding around SPL, that's different. Then you do what I said. Let's see here. Yeah, hopefully that helped you out then. Let's see. A good bass knob that lets you see the level at night, and also has a voltmeter. I like the bass case that I got from the guys on Facebook. Let me see if I can find it for you. I think it was, what was it called? I'm trying to look it up. There, I believe that is it right there. Yes, that's it. I'll show you these guys. Hang tight. Let me minimize this stuff. Boy, we got lots of stuff. All right. We'll minimize that. Now we'll go over here. Boop. And we'll go boop. So these guys. This is the people I like dealing with as far as bass knobs go. And they're pretty freaking wicked, man. They do all kinds of cool stuff. You can order custom stuff, just anything you can dream up, they can make it. This is where I got my, the one that I'm running in my Tahoe. And they can do all sorts of things to them. Put all sorts of different gauges and doodads and meters, anything you want. Multiple volume control, bass knob, blah, 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 all mixed together. Just whatever kind of a scenario you can dream up, they can make it. And you just get to hook these guys through Facebook, and they'll hook you up, man. And just look for this bass case, all one word. Check them out. That's my suggestion. No problem, man. Let's see here. Yeah, I use an RTA and REW. Just wondering how you personally do it your way. Appreciate your input on this topic. No problem, man. Yeah, I'm a believer that you try to fix it in the physical world first, and then once you get that in the ballpark, then you can go back in the digital world and do the other stuff. So if my bass, for example, is falling off at 28 hertz and I want it to play lower than that, then I fix the box, fix the sub. I change the stuff. That's kind of how I do it. I tune physically, primarily. And then once I get everything where it's really close, as far as physical tuning, then I go in there and make those little adjustments with the DSP. Ideally, if you got a system built perfectly, you can run your EQ flat and it'll sound great. And that's what I'm always shooting for. So hopefully that answered your questions. W, you ain't right, man. You guys got anything else for me tonight? I will stick around as long as there's questions and do my best. If not, I got a show tomorrow, and I probably should get some rest. I guess that's what we're going to do, guys. I guess that's what we're going to do. No more questions. Let's get the duck out of here.
getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Hours charging, amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Eyes are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming, gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating air. Sparks are flying, voice cords are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.